let me show you the class members. So the member function and variables are collectively called as class members, right? So already you know what is meant by member function and member variables. Can you answer me which one we are calling as member function and member variables? Can anyone answer me? Which one is called as member function or member variables?
Variables in the class are called member variables and functions are called member functions.
Very good. Okay. Okay. So,
Variables in the functions are called.
okay. So the variables and functions within one particular class will be called as their members, right? So all
Member
together.
function only.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay. So all together we are calling them as class members. Okay. So the class members, they are nothing but, for example, you can take your own class. So in your class we have some 60 plus students, right? So each and every student belongs to the members of second CSCA, right? So similarly, whatever variables and functions which comes under a particular class will be called as the class members. Okay, so are collectively called as class members. So that is the definition for class members. And we need to discuss how we are going to access the class members. So the class members can be accessed by using the access operator. Okay, so here we are going to use dot operator to access the class members. It may be a variable or it may be a function. We can access it with the help of the dot operator. And to access the class members only, we are going to use this object concept. Okay, so already in the beginning itself, we have discussed the first concept of OOPS is object, right? For each and every class, we will be creating one particular object. With the help of that object only, we are going to access the class members. So how we are going to access the class members? What is the syntax? Already in object slide, let me show you. So here class name space object name, right? So the class name is student and the object name is yes, right? So once if the object is created, then I can go for yes dot name. Name may be one of the function, right? So the syntax is object name dot function name. Within bracket we may have argument or we may not have the argument. It depends upon the function which we have created, right? So this is about the class members. So the class members, they are nothing but the member functions and member variables are together called as class members. Okay. And then how we are going to access the class members? We are going to access using this particular syntax. So object name dot function name. Already the object name has been created, right? So for example, if I have the class name as addition, for that I have created the object as EA, and when I want to access one particular function, then I need to use the object name A dot, what is the function? That function name, right? So using this we can call the particular function and we can execute it inside the main program, right? So this lines will be available inside the main program, whereas in the previous slide this class declaration part won't be available inside the main program. Okay, so this we can keep anywhere in the program, so that we will discuss. Okay, so now we have discussed what is class and what is the syntax for that, and who are all called as class members and how to access the class members, right? Those points we have discussed. And again, now we need to discuss how we are going to define the member functions. Okay, so one point you have to remember. See, here we are talking about the variables and the functions. Okay, if it is variable, no problem. Only the variable declaration part we have. Anyway, we are not going to define the variables, right? So we have the variable declaration part, and this declaration can be done inside the class concept, inside the class block itself, right? But the second thing, we have function. So whenever it is a function, you would have studied in C programming itself. We will be having a function declaration part, function definition part, and function call. So three things we will have, right? Before calling any function, it should be declared and defined somewhere in the program. So this particular definition also you would have studied in C programming. So before calling any function, it should be defined somewhere in the program. So before that control comes to the function call, before that line, somewhere it should be defined. The function should be defined and it should be declared, right? So the function definition is another problem what we have here. So how we are going to define the member functions? So the member functions can be defined in two ways. Okay, again, if you understand these two methods of defining a member function, you can write accordingly. Anything you can select. There is no restriction. For this particular program, you have to go for this type of member function definition. Not like that. It is up to the user. Okay, so it is user friendly. So you can keep anywhere, any block can be kept in any place inside the programming. Only thing is you need to understand the logic. Okay, so there are two types how we can define the member function. One is outside the class definition and another one is inside the class definition. In these two methods, we can define the member function. Okay, so first let us discuss how to define the member function outside the class definition. Okay, so remember class definition is nothing but where we are defining the class. So this block is the class definition block. Okay. So where we are going to define. So if I am going to define the function outside the class, then how it will be? When the function is defined outside the class definition, it requires a prototype declaration in the class. So this is too technical. So let us discuss what is meant by this outside class declaration part. See here I have void item, right? Okay, so let us see the syntax first, then we will go for example. So here return type, class name and 4 dots I have kept, right? Like this. Like this we have 4 dots. So this is nothing but scope resolution operator. Okay, so in your keyboard, you can remember the colon button, right? Colon button we have colon and semicolon. For both we will be having single key, right? So if you press the colon 2 times, then we can get this 4 dots, right? So shift colon, again shift colon if you give, then we will get 2 times this colon. Okay, so this particular operator is called as scope resolution operator. Okay, so note down in your notebook, this particular operator is called as scope resolution operator. So this scope resolution operator throughout the program we will be using. Okay, so wherever we are going to define the member function outside the class definition, we will be using this scope resolution operator. So return type space class name, scope resolution operator, function name, within bracket, if we have argument, we will go for argument declaration. If there is no argument for the particular program, then you can leave it. Okay, and within curly brace, the function body we will have. Okay, so now you can ask me what is mean by this return type. Okay, so what is mean by return type? Can anyone answer me? What is mean by return type? Have you heard about this? You would have studied in C programming.
Data type which function return.
Very good. Okay, so return type is the data type using which the function was declared. Okay, so remember this return type doesn't have any relation with the class name. But why? Because the class name we are defining like this. Class keyword space class name. That's all. The class name doesn't have any return type. Whereas whatever function we are declaring, this function we will be giving some return type. Okay, it may be an integer type, void, anything, right? So for whatever we are giving here, this particular return type should be given here. Okay, so if I want to define get data function, then what is the return type I have declared for the get data function? Use this particular return type space. What is the class name? If the class name is item, keep the class name, scope resolution operator and the function name. So the function name is get data and in argument declaration int a comma float b, right? So inside this we can give what is the function body. This is as usual procedure how we will be defining the function, right? So in example, if you take, see void get data int a comma float b. So void is the return type. This is the class name, scope resolution operator. Here I have defined the function name. Then we are having the argument declared here. Okay. So inside this, I am assuming the value of a to number and the value of b to cost. Right. So this is how we are going to define the member function outside the class definition. Okay, then now we have another type called defining a member function inside the class definition part itself. So if you are defining a member function inside the class declaration part, we have class name. Here I have kept the variable declaration part. Then I am moving for function declaration as well as definition. So for void get data, this part will give me function declaration as well as function definition. So whenever I define a particular function in the class declaration part itself, then this will come under inside the class definition. Defining the member function inside the class definition. Okay, so the full term. So in the beginning, it will be little bit confusing, all these terminologies. Okay, so once if you understand, then no need to worry about this. Okay, so remember this entire part is the class declaration part. Okay, class declaration or class definition, in any words we can call. So inside the class declaration part, we will be having variable declaration and function declaration. So variable we are going to declare as usual, no doubt in that. Okay, if we have the function, if I want to declare only function declaration inside this part, I can declare here and close the declaration part, terminate it with a semicolon, go outside of this class, and somewhere in the program you can define the member function. Okay, so if I do like that, then it will be called as outside the class definition, defining the member function outside the class declaration. Instead of that, in which place I am declaring the class, there itself I am defining the function also, right? So here void get data, here only I am declaring the function. So in this location itself, while declaring, immediately I have started defining the function. What is this function? I have started defining. So void get data int a comma float b, within curly brace I have given everything here itself, function body, right? So then this particular type of member function definition. Okay, so this type of member function definition will be called as defining the member function inside the class definition part. Is it clear up to this? Okay, so if you understand this, then easily we can move for the programming part. Okay, otherwise until the end of the semester, you will be keep on repeatedly doing mistakes here. Okay, so you should have certain clarity. See, remember for class, we are not giving any return type, because many students, your seniors used to do mistakes here. Your class, we are going to declare like this. We are going to use the class keyword and then class name. There is no return type for this. Whereas for all the functions, this is just like the previous C programming. We need to give the return type. Okay, so member function, if it is member variable, no problem, we can declare like this. If it is member function, it has two concepts. One is function declaration, another one function definition. So if it is function definition, again it has two types. So how we are classifying the two types? Based on the place where we are defining the member function. If I define the member function inside the class declaration part, it is called as defining member function inside the class declaration. If I define the member function outside the class declaration part, then it is called as defining the member function outside the class declaration, right? So that is why we are specifying it requires a prototype declaration in the class. If it is inside, it does not require a prototype declaration in the class, right? And you have to remember the syntax. If you are choosing outside the class definition, then you need to go for scope resolution operator. If you are defining inside the class declaration part itself, there is no scope resolution operator used here. Directly you can use it. Okay, so this type of function definition doesn't have any impact on your program. It is up to you. Either you can go for inside the class declaration or you can go for outside the class declaration. Is it clear up to this?